Good evening. If you're just joining us, we're looking forward to getting started with UWF Night of Cyber, the virtual version for the first time. We're thrilled to have you. I'd like to wait a minute while our attendees join in. Anna, please let us know when we're ready to start.
Everybody's starting to come in. I'd give it another couple of seconds.
Sure. And while we're waiting, we're thrilled to have you all with us today. We've got the UWF Cybersecurity team, the UWF Cyber Ambassadors, panelists, industry leaders in cybersecurity, and UWF alum joining us to share their insights as well. And we're thrilled to have you all with us this evening for our annual Night of Cyber and the first virtual version of it. So we're thrilled to be able to expand participation. So we'll wait just another few seconds. I see people joining the session, and that's great. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Anna, are we ready?
Yeah, I think you're good to go.
Great. Well, welcome to the UWF Night of Cyber. We are thrilled to be hosting this virtually via Zoom. It's an annual tradition for us to talk about cybersecurity careers, cybersecurity programs and activities at UWF, and feature our very own industry and community partners and UWF alum to talk about their insights as well. My name is Dr. Iman El-Sheikh. I'm director for the Center for Cybersecurity here at the University of West Florida. We will make sure to have time for questions throughout this. You should be able to provide questions via your chat window. So keep in mind as we go along, we'll also be sharing these slides with you afterwards, with attendees afterwards. So don't worry about jotting down notes. We'll share this with you later on, and we're thrilled to have you all join us. I want to start by recognizing the UWF cybersecurity team that are with us here tonight. They've put in a lot of effort. So if y'all want to say hi real quick or wave to the audience, we've got quite a few people here. Anthony Pinto, our cybersecurity faculty fellow and program director. We've also got Guy Garrett, assistant director for the center. We've got Jim Rhodes, our community and public relations director, Brittany Lopez, program manager, Julie White, our administrative specialist. We've got Tirthankar Ghosh. Sorry if I missed you, Tirthankar. I'm scrolling through my list here at the top. Associate director and professor for the Center for Cybersecurity. And we have our wonderful students joining us as well. Benjamin, our Hendricks, our Cyber Club president, and our Cyber Ambassadors. Hey, Ben. Jasmine Collins, Kendra Perkins, Stephanie Sears, Ethan Thompson, and did I miss anyone? And of course, Anna Lokas is here with us today to help facilitate as well. And we also have our distinguished panel. We're thrilled to introduce them a little bit later this evening as well. So thank you, UWF Cyber team, and those who aren't with us but help behind the scenes as well for being here. And we're looking forward to a great evening with you all today. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to start by, we want thanking all of you for attending. And if we can go to the next slide, please, talking about why choose a career in cybersecurity. We are celebrating this week National Cybersecurity Career Awareness Week. And our goal is to raise as much awareness and interest in cybersecurity careers as possible. So these are some of the just few reasons, there are a lot more reasons to think about a career in cybersecurity. First, it's very multidisciplinary and offers flexible career options. So whether you are interested in cybersecurity, pure cryptology, or whether you're interested in coding or engineering or business or management or law or policy, or psychology, or ethics and philosophy. Believe it or not, all of those backgrounds are needed in cybersecurity, and there are great job options related to cybersecurity with the right cyber knowledge and skill sets. So there's, if you look, and we'll hear from our panelists more information, there's plenty of opportunities and flexible career pathways in cybersecurity. It is in huge demand. If we could go to the next slide, Brittany, and then come back to this one, please. Look at the demand that we have right now as we speak in cybersecurity. So right here in Northwest Florida, we have over 1,500 unfilled cybersecurity jobs waiting for our talented students, our middle school, high school students, all the talent pipeline in the area. Across our state, we have over 23,000 unfilled cybersecurity jobs as we speak. Nationally, we have over 500,000 unfilled cybersecurity jobs. And these numbers were actually just updated this week earlier as we celebrate by NICE, the National Cybersecurity Career Awareness Week. And guess what? They're going in the wrong direction. We want these numbers to go down. We want these jobs to be filled. They're actually getting higher. And so there's huge demand for qualified cybersecurity professionals right now. In fact, across the globe, the estimate is that by next year, we'll have over 3.5 million unfilled cybersecurity jobs. So it's a global crisis, not just a national crisis. Let's go back to the first slide. There are also very high paying, high rewarding jobs. So average entry level for a cyber analyst position is around 70 to 80,000. I can tell you that our students when they graduate, have no trouble getting jobs. In fact, sometimes they get jobs before they graduate, and we want them to stay and finish their degree. And so there are great opportunities. Again, the goal is to find your passion. Another reason to really, and this is to me the key of the matter for choosing a career in cybersecurity, is the opportunity to make a difference, to help your community, to help our nation. You really can't beat the mission. You are defending and protecting information, data, and infrastructure that is crucial, whether to you and your family individually, your healthcare, your financial data, whether to your communities, your banks, your hospitals, your government, your elections, whether to the nation and nation state adversaries and trying to keep ahead of them. So it's really an opportunity to make a difference and to give back and to have impact on your community and support the national interests as well. It's also fun and challenging. It's a very dynamic field. It changes daily. We have new opportunities, new threats to worry about every day. And it gives you the opportunity to work in teams to solve complex, challenging problems. And so in terms of keeping you engaged and keeping you learning and active, it really provides those opportunities. We've included a video that we won't have time to show here, but we encourage you to see, and we'll share the link, as I mentioned, that really kind of in a few minutes just goes over why consider a career in cybersecurity. We encourage you to look at that video later, and we'll share the slides. Let's keep going. Okay, so hopefully I've convinced some of you to consider a career in cybersecurity, consider changing careers. If you're already in a career field you don't like, there are opportunities that we have for upskilling and reskilling for a new career, as a different career pathway as well. Why choose UWF, right? So hopefully you're thinking about cybersecurity. Well, why think about cybersecurity at UWF? One reason is that we have the gold standard of higher education, and that is through our designation as a National Center of Academic Excellence in Cybersecurity. That is a designation that's provided by the National Security Agency and the Department of Homeland Security. It is something that is coveted in the higher ed world. Colleges and universities across the country strive to achieve this designation because it really means that you have the highest level of not only academic program and curricula, but everything else that's important for student success. You have qualified faculty, you have students engaged in research and outreach activities. You have opportunities to support the community. You're doing a good job in terms of maintaining your own security at the institution. So it's a very rigorous process, and we're proud and honored to be a CAE, or Center of Academic Excellence, as we call it. Let's keep going. In addition, the even I think bigger reason to consider UWF is that not only excellence, we are actually the Center of Academic Excellence hub for the Southeast US. And so the NSA selected 5
Did we lose her?
I think so.
Iman,
This
are you
is
back?
Anthony Pinto, so I'll just continue. It looks like Dr. El Sheikh dropped off. So what she was saying was the NSA created regional hubs to help them manage this program and bring new schools on and sort of manage the whole academic interest in cybersecurity, because the NSA is concerned about workforce development, basically getting people into this field. So we do a lot of things, like we host events, we help other schools figure out how to get the CAE, we do training, collaboration, research, all those types of things. And like she showed you, there's 5 regions, and we're the Southeast. So Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Florida, Georgia, Atlanta, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, North South Carolina, and Kentucky. So let's go ahead and go to the next one.
And I want to just, and I'm back. Sorry about that. I'm not really sure what happened.
Okay.
So just
I covered
one
it for
reason.
you.
Thank you, Anthony, for picking up for me there. But one reason for students thinking, well, why is that important to me? Why would I care if UWF is the regional hub or not? The reason it's important is that means because we're the regional hub, we have to keep 2 or 3 steps ahead, right? If we're going to help other institutions become CAE designated, or earn that quality, or launch cybersecurity programs and competitions, we've got to be able to figure it out first. And so we work very closely with the NSA and the federal partners to make sure that we're always at the cutting edge of education. And I'll turn it back over to Anthony.
Okay, so what you're looking at now is sort of a list of most of our programs that have some relationship to cybersecurity. And you could find this on UWF website if you have questions or want to read more about the program. And my email is up there as well, apinto@uwf.edu. If you have questions about any other programs, I can answer them or certainly direct you to the right people. So if you kind of look at this list, the first one is the NSA DHS program that's designated, which is our bachelor's in cybersecurity, which is a very technical program. It's for technicians in the cyber field. And what we have to realize in cyber is cybersecurity really is a very broad field, but the technical aspects covers all the main parts of computer. In other words, how networks work, how operating systems work, how databases work, and how to write secure software. And that's basically what we teach in the BS in cyber. If you go down to the next one, information technology, that's another department, and their focus is on system administration and IT infrastructure, and they do have a focus on cybersecurity, and they're actually working on their NSA designation. So we're going to be able to designate multiple programs, but they haven't got there yet. Also in the computer science department, we have a straight computer science degree, which is theoretical computer science, learning how to program, very in-depth. And the software design and development is another program where you learn how to build like business applications and things like this. But the thing is all this stuff has cybersecurity relationships to it, because you can't build software that's not secure, or it's never going to get sold. Nobody's ever going to use it. So that's kind of where we are with the main programs that are in the computer science or the IT department. We also have a BA in international studies, because cyber is such a big topic now that everybody's involved, whether it's, different countries, and there's lots of policy, security, laws, all that kind of stuff. So we have the international studies that kind of covers a lot of the things that aren't necessarily technical. If you're interested in a graduate program, we have a fairly new Master's of Science in Cybersecurity that has multiple tracks. We have a data security track. We have a software development track. We also have a business type track, and we also have one in government that relates to it's called national security, and it relates to the laws and learning policies and things like that. And then we have information technology also has a master's degree, computer science. And then information security management is like an MBA with an emphasis in security management. So you're not necessarily technical, but you're managing those people. And then, like I said, poli-sci has security and diplomacy. We also have a few certificates that are listed there. Those are kind of to get your beak wet, if you will, in the field, and maybe get some idea of what it's about, and maybe you'd want to move into it at some point. Can you go to the next one? Okay, other things we do is, as Dr. El-Sheikh said, we're about community service, and so we do lots of outreach. One of the things we've done for the last several years is Gen Cyber Summer Camp, which is basically funded by the NSA, and it varies between high school and middle school students. This year we have a student camp that's running the 21st through the 25th for middle school. It's a middle school girls camp, and it's in partnership with the Girl Scouts. If you pay attention, we'll be sending some things out later in the spring through your schools and stuff for people to sign up. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gosh because he's going to be running a teachers camp, and I'd like him to talk about that just for a minute.
So the teachers camp, essentially what we are trying to do and what we did for the last few years, we are going to be running a week-long teachers camp for teachers from grades 1 through 12. And the teachers who would be participating, they don't have to be teaching technical courses. They can come from any discipline that they want to be. And tentatively, the date for the teachers camp is the week of June 7th. The date may change, but we would send you notifications about that teachers camp, and there would be an application process, an application form to fill up. Those of you who are interested to be part of the teachers camp, please feel free to email us, and then we would be happy to send you all relevant information about the teachers camp. So keep looking. This is a great opportunity. Teachers who participate, they get a wealth of information. We prepare them for their classrooms. They develop lesson plans. So they are well equipped with cybersecurity knowledge and skills and lesson plans after they leave the camp. And I'll give it back to Anthony.
Okay, thank you. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, so we also have cyber ambassadors, which we're going to talk about after we get with the slides. Guy Garrett leads that program, and it's basically our students going out in the community. And I don't want to talk too much about that, but we're going to catch that later. Can you go to the next slide? Okay, I'm also the academic advisor for our cybersecurity club, which is UWF students, and we've got our president of the club, Ben Hendricks, here to talk a little bit more detail about that and some of the accomplishments and some of the fun stuff those guys do, because they all have a lot of fun because it's not a required thing. There's no tests or anything. They just show up and do cybersecurity and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to turn it over to Ben and let him do it.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm Benjamin Hendricks. As he said, I'm the Cybersecurity Club president right now. And I just want to say that there have been 1,000,001 opportunities thrown at us since I've been in the program. Every time we turn around, they're throwing competitions at us. And there's a lot of opportunities to branch out with what we've done. We've had competitions for digital forensics shown our way. Recently, we just did one for penetration testing, which was us simulating going to a company and like finding all the vulnerabilities breaking in. And we've had some huge successes this past spring and hopefully the future with CCDC, which is a defense style one, where we act like our own business coming in, and every student kind of, it's like, oh yeah, I'm a Windows admin, I'm a Linux admin, I'm the firewall guy. And all the students that are participating in the club have had so much breadth of opportunities thrown at them, and we have a lot of fun time in there. And I'll pass it back to you, Anthony. You want to take it?
Okay, just one real quick thing too. Both these competitions, like the second place in the Southeast Collegiate, there was about 35 teams that participated in the Southeast region, some really tough schools, and the same thing with the penetration testing, and we finished second in both. So that was a major accomplishment, especially for our program, because relatively speaking, we started this around 2014. So we're fairly new, and we've come a long way, and we've got some really great students and good faculty, and so we're really pleased with where we've gotten so far.
This past year alone, we keep getting second place in the whole Southeast region of having all of these colleges come together to compete, and we keep raising the bar. We keep rising to the challenge and doing better and better as the program, as the Cyber Club continues.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Garrett, and he's going to discuss, introduce the ambassadors and talk about that.
Okay, we're unmuted here. Let me fix this camera. The cybersecurity ambassadors have a unique mission. We go out into the community and talk to a lot of middle school and high school people. We talk to youth groups, just about anybody who will listen. And I'm going to let you hear from these guys what they do. But basically, we do everything from introducing crypto with something like a Caesar wheel, which is this thing you can turn around and encrypt a message, all the way to starting to work with some of the complex attacks. Like we just recently went out to a homeschool group and showed a password cracking demonstration. So we got a lot of things we do to show people what cyber looks like in that cyber story. And the better people to tell it are my ambassadors. So we'll start with Jasmine. She's one of our top ambassadors. And Jasmine, you take it away and tell them a little bit about what you guys do and why UWF, why you got into this.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jasmine. As mentioned, I'm a cyber ambassador and current senior with UWF. I've been at the school for about the past 3 years, and it's been such a rewarding experience. My interest in cybersecurity actually began when I was around a teenager. I managed to get a virus on my laptop, unfortunately, but I enjoyed figuring out the process of how to remove it and just the steps to take so that I could prevent getting any more viruses on my laptop. As for being a cyber ambassador, we do plenty of work for our community. We create a bunch of technical labs that could result in password cracking. We have one with a man-in-the-middle attack. We've just taught students how to get those basic cybersecurity skills to learn more about cyber. Overall, the school has numerous resources, as mentioned earlier, for you to excel in your academic life and your future career. As for us in particular, we've actually taken classes in malware analysis and also in just understanding how to exploit system vulnerabilities. And from here, I'm going to pass it on over to Steph.
Hello, so I'm a senior. This will be my last semester here at UWF with the major in cybersecurity. What started me was I've always liked puzzle solving, understanding people and how they work and why they do what they do. And then I also had a knack for technology, and cybersecurity actually encompasses all of those loves. I've joined the ambassador team last year, and it's been very fun. Just going to schools, teaching about cybersecurity, telling them why it's important, why we should be careful what we download and who we're talking to, and just the overall teach safety on the internet, because it will keep growing. So we might as well know how to be safe on it. Yeah, UWF has great opportunities, and honestly, I love the fact that I chose this school. So I'm gonna head over to the next speaker.
All right, and that should be me. Hey guys, my name is Ethan Thompson, and I'm currently a second-year junior at the University of West Florida. And I actually, this beard, it might make you think that I'm some old fart from like I'm like 30 years old. No, I'm 20 years old, and I just joined this team last year. And I'll just start off by saying it's been such a rewarding and like learning experience being on this team. So I've gotten to be able to interact with people, be able to teach things, and one, teaching the community about cybersecurity and these different threats and all these different techniques that all people should know. It's helped me learn a lot too as I'm going along and doing all these different things. Even though I've started my learning about computer science and cybersecurity ever since I was about 15 years old. That's when I got my A+ certification. I'm still learning more each and every day. And these past 5 years or so, it's just goes to show you that you'll never stop learning about computer science and cybersecurity if you choose this field. And I'm going to hand this over to Kendra if she's still here.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Kendra Perkins. I recently received my bachelor's from the University of West Florida, and I'm achieving my master's degree from the University of West Florida as well. I started my journey with cybersecurity back in high school. I took AP Computer Science, and I learned about cryptography, and I realized that cybersecurity was definitely what I wanted to do. Definitely wanted to do cybersecurity on a national level as far as being able to protect our nation. So I decided I wanted to join the military and do cybersecurity that way. I came to the University of West Florida and I joined the ROTC program, and I commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Air Force as a cyberspace operations officer. My passion also stemmed from space and doing space operations and wanting to protect satellites. So my hope is that I'll be able to combine cybersecurity with space operations and be able to combine those two career fields. With the Center for Cybersecurity, I've been able to be an ambassador and teach the upcoming generations about cybersecurity. I've also been able to attain my Security Plus certification through some of the teaching programs that the Center for Cybersecurity offers. And I was also able to be a part of the UWF Pathways to Cyber program, which is a program for upcoming high school students to learn about some cybersecurity topics. I really enjoyed my time at the University of West Florida, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask any of us.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I mean, the ambassadors are a fine group of young people. They're just the best you could possibly imagine being around. But you see their excitement, and the beauty of it is for those of you that are students thinking about this as a career, here are some examples of people who weren't that long ago sitting in the seats you're sitting in right now in high school and middle school. So it wasn't that long ago for these guys. So definitely, if you're interested, reach out to them. They're a great group of young people, and I couldn't be prouder of these folks and the things that they're doing and the things they're going to do. So that's the Cyber Ambassadors. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you, Guy, and thank you to our fabulous cyber ambassadors, as well as Ben, president of our cyber club. They are the reasons why we keep going. We are so proud of them and thrilled to have some alumni with us here as well to talk later on. So I want to just talk real quick before we move on to the career panel. We are answering questions in the chat window, the panelist team. So feel free, if you have a question, put it in the chat window and we will get to it. And we'll also take group questions at the end after the panel discussion. Before we move on to that, I want to talk about a few ways that you can get involved. So if you want to learn more about cybersecurity, you heard from our students about plenty of opportunities, and the important thing is to try them. So some of the things that we recommend and also support are things like the Air Force Association Cyber Patriot competition. You can participate in a competition, form a team with your school as an example, and we host the competition rounds at UWF and also the regional rounds, and also provide mentoring to Cyber Patriot teams. We have conferences that we participate in and support. annually. So for example, Cyberthon and I-10 Wired are examples of conferences that bring in industry professionals, employers, academics, students to talk about current trends, challenges, future opportunities. They typically, for example, I-10 Wired has included a cyber defense competition the past few years. We've been fortunate to not only host that through the UWF Center for Cybersecurity and our Florida Cyber Range, but our Cyber Club has also competed and won in those competitions. So look for opportunities for you to get practice, get skills, join one of our camps, for example. Another thing to keep in mind is we're here to answer questions. So if you don't have a question right now, but think of something later, feel free to contact us and we'd be happy to provide additional information on these opportunities. All right, next slide. These are some resources to consider. There's plenty of resources on our webpage. The URL is uwf.edu/cybersecurity. I probably could have listed 30 different things under there, but I'll let you all explore the website. Just want to point out a few things is if you go to education, so click on education from our main homepage, you'll get to our academic programs and our scholarship opportunities. I didn't mention, so far we haven't mentioned that we are a university that offers the Cyber Core Scholarship for Service program. I encourage you to look that up and I'll put the URL here in the chat window for you. It's uwf.edu ACES, Argo Cyber Emerging Scholars. We're thrilled to have our first cohort of Cyber Core Scholarship recipients this year. That is a scholarship that is, again, nationally coveted. We're honored to have it here at UWF. It provides full tuition for students to pursue their degrees here, both undergraduate and graduate in cybersecurity, as well as plentiful annual stipends and professional development allowances. So 100% of your tuition fees covered, as well as stipends, living and professional development stipends, in exchange for looking for and getting opportunities in the federal executive agencies after graduation. And it's a great way to get involved in cybersecurity and get skills and get placed in agencies such as the National Security Agency or CIA or FBI or DOD or things like that. So go to uwf.edu/ACES, ACES, for more information on that. We've also included some resources for your consideration, and we'll share these links as well afterwards. The careers video, CyberSeek has a great tool that you can go in and kind of look and explore different cybersecurity career pathways and see what you might be interested in, as well as some guides that explore cybersecurity degree and degree options. The important thing is for you to explore all the different options, learn a little bit, perhaps participate in a camp or competition, and make an informed decision about the career pathway that you want to pursue. Next slide, please. So again, we're here to help. Our goal is to encourage more awareness and interest. These are the various ways that you can stay in touch or contact us if you have questions. Visit our website, email us at cybersecurity@uwf.edu if you have any questions. Please follow us on social media. We'll be sharing information through our mailing distribution lists on our camps when that's announced. So feel free to email us and join our mailing list as well. And like I said, if you've got questions, put them in the chat window. We'll also take questions at the end. And at this time, I want to thank the UWF Cybersecurity team and our ambassadors and our Cyber Club president, and move on to introduce our panel. And I'm just so thrilled about the guests that we have on tonight. So I'd like to ask our panelists to join the session at this time. Okay, do we have, if you can turn on your audio and video, I would like to start by introducing you all. So one of the highlights of our event is to make sure that we include our community and industry partners and get their advice. We learn something from them and their diverse and accomplished careers, and we're thrilled to have cybersecurity industry leaders with us today, this evening, and UWF alum as well. That's great. Go Argos. And we just want to hear from you all and take as many. This is for the audience, also your time to really ask questions. So be ready with your questions, and we'll repeat the questions for the panelists. Our co-hosts will as well. So what I'd like to do is just welcome them and then ask them to each talk a little bit about themselves. We're thrilled to have Sheila Carpenter, Chief Information Officer for Zix and AppRiver. Okay, I think we just lost the slide there. Kevin Coggins, if we can put that slide back up. Thank you so much, Brittany. Kevin Coggins, Vice President, Resilient Platforms for Booz Allen Hamilton and UWF alum. Stephen Gamillion, Portfolio and Business Development Manager for Cyber Intelligence at Northrop Grumman and also UWF alum. And Kat Self, Lead Adversary Emulation Engineer for MITRE and UWF alum as well. And you might have noticed Kat in one of those pictures in the Cyber Club competition wins from just a few years ago. So thank you, Sheila, Kevin, Stephen, and Kat for joining us. And I'd like to start by just asking you to tell us a little bit each about what you do. What do you do? Tell us what you do within your organization and briefly introduce yourself. Sheila, would you like to start?
Sure. My name is Sheila Carpenter. I'm the CIO and VP of Phenomenal Support for Zix AppRiver. I'm actually located in Ottawa, Canada. With COVID, all of our folks are working remotely. We do have an office in Gulf Breeze where we have over 235 employees. And we're always looking for new resources, specifically in security. I looked at your numbers where you were saying what was available. And for us, we're always looking for some top talent. From our standpoint, my responsibilities, I manage IT, security, compliance for all of the enterprise of Zix AppRiver. There's over 600 employees in total. But I also manage the technical support team, which is actually managing the security software that we actually sell for the cloud to enable us to answer questions and specifically handle our customers' cybersecurity questions for the software they buy from us. Just from a standpoint of what is that software, it's a cloud software that helps organize a secure modern workplace. It creates, it's a secure cloud platform which enables customers to have one pane of glass to be able to manage their Microsoft cloud applications. But along with that is the security and that one pane of glass to help manage backup and recovery, email encryption, and file sharing and archiving. We currently have, and I'll do this pitch, as we do have 6 open positions looking for cybersecurity experience. And really, I just wanted to say thank you for giving the opportunity, for allowing me to speak. And I also wanted to just thank everyone for giving me the time. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Kevin, would you like to go next?
Certainly. Hi, my name is Kevin Coggins. I'm the Vice President for Resilient Platforms at Booz Allen Hamilton. My job is fun. I get to take what we do in cybersecurity for IT and apply it to OT, operational technologies. Everything from satellites to tanks, to pharmaceutical companies, to critical infrastructure in the US. And as you can imagine, they're not quite designed like IT networks are, but they still have information that flows. They have processors, they have computer code, they have embedded computer code. And many systems were designed 20 years ago. Some systems are brand new, but they all have cybersecurity issues that we have to solve. The other neat thing that my group does is we turn it around into what we call non-defensive cyber, or you might call it offensive cyber. How do we now use these things we learn to have very efficient red teams, or even capabilities we might use against an adversary? So I tell you, cyber is a realm that just keeps growing, and it's a ton of fun.
Great, thanks, Kevin. Stephen?
Well, good evening, everyone. And again, thank you again for the opportunity to speak tonight. As a retired Army intelligence officer, I'm passionate, and gives me, true joy to assist others in finding their path in cyber, because cyber touches everything. And much like Kevin, I work in the Department of Defense, and the intelligence community, supporting the cyber effort there. So my job is to go out and interface with the customer, if you will, find out what their needs are, the requirements, and come back and work with our internal team at Northrop Grumman, with the software engineers, security experts, if you will, and translate that to come back and say, here's how we can help you. Here's how we believe we can assist you in a path forward. And it's dynamic, it's fast, it's moving, and it's a great field. Thank you again.
Great, thank you. Kat?
Hi, I'm Kat Self. I am the first cybersecurity graduate from UWF, which I love. I work at MITRE. MITRE is actually a nonprofit. Some of you all are nodding because you work with our people. That's only real customers, the government. So the good thing, which is actually not true anymore, it's actually changing. Right now, I'm on 2 different teams, and they're the attack team. So for some of you guys that are getting into cybersecurity, you might have come across what we call the MITRE attack framework. That's going to be where they take that full, like what we call a kill chain, right? Which is the behaviors of what a bad guy essentially does once they get on a host. Like, what do they need to do? Well, they need to persist, right? So we take, that's essentially our framework that we actually got from observing bad guys in the wild. And then we took that knowledge and then we made it in this compartmentalized thing that everyone could have a clear way to talk about now. And so that's the team I'm on. A lot of my job is research, and I'm also on another team where it's the attack evaluations, where we actually take a full-blown scenario of a bad guy that we've picked, and we've based everything off of open source information, essentially reports off the web. And then we've created essentially a what we call a full cycle kill chain. And then all of the vendors come to us and we test them. So all of these guys you hear about in the news, like CrowdStrike and you can actually go to the website and see them all, but like all of these big name vendors will come and then they'll test out their software against our scenario. So it's a really cool job. We do have open positions, a lot of different levels. MITRE has a couple of different programs, one for new professionals, people with under 2 years of experience. As some of you guys know, that 2-year mark is kind of crucial. So where they're like, if you're under 2 years, it's a whole different program that's really about taking someone that's new, bringing them into the fold, giving them diverse experience across different teams, and really like broadening that knowledge, right? Because when you first come into this field, it's kind of like, this is a fire hose. Are you kidding me? Like, I have to know all of this. So, and then we also have positions open for more senior seasoned professionals. So if you're a non-traditional student going after the master's degrees, or you've already got some different jobs underneath your belt, also have positions that we can definitely talk about later. So thanks.
Great, thank you, Kat, and thank you to all of our panelists. So thrilled to have you with us today. And I want to just pick up on something Kat mentioned, that we've had, UWF has had cybersecurity infused in our programs across the colleges for many, many years, 20, 30 years in computer science and IT and the College of Business and other areas. But one of the requirements for that coveted CAE designation that I talked about earlier was having a formal program in cybersecurity and having graduates. You can't just say you have it on paper. You have to have students go through, and you have to show that you've had students graduate from that program. And our first cohort of CAE designated cybersecurity program was a cohort of 1. Kat was, so she had that title of very first UWF CAE designated graduate. So that's great. All right, let's keep going. So to our panelists, what types of cybersecurity career opportunities are you aware of at your organization? It's great to hear that several of you are hiring and have opportunities. Tell us a little bit more about those. And if you have information later, feel free to send them to our team and we'll get them to the audience as well. So let's start with Sheila.
Hi. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, very different groups within the teams for compliance. So that's an audit of what we're actually doing to prove that what we say we're doing from a cybersecurity program and proving that we do it. So a lot of the certifications that our customers are demanding, such as because we're public, Sarbanes-Oxley, SOC 2 because we're running cloud services, PCI because we're exchanging transactions, all of those certifications help or are a requirement for our customers to buy our software. So the audit and that compliancy side, proving that we do what we say we're doing within our policies is a key team for us to help with selling our software. From a security engineering side, we're doing the vulnerability patching, the vulnerability pen testing, the getting into actually the coding of the software. So we're very, very much in tune with the DevSecOps opportunities, where we can get into making sure that the code that's running the software we're selling is secure, that we don't have those vulnerabilities that bad actors can get into. We also have that capability of doing that AI. So we're monitoring as we see the attacks, as we have all of the monitoring that's showing us, we're actually running creating the code to actually do the defense real time without human intervention. And then just the other side of it is just assessing as we buy new companies, going in and doing that threat risk assessment, along with how we're going to make sure that we can shore up all of our security policies on both sides so that we don't compromise any of our certifications. The other side of it is that we have technical support teams that, and that whole career growth is coming in with that 0 to 2 year out of school, getting them the experience of how to support customers, how to make sure we're treating the customers and managing the data that they have on our cloud to be secure. And then also bringing in the programs to have mentoring, have those shadowing and interns within the organization so that you can see all of the different pieces that are within the company, specifically at the enterprise and then at the development side of the products that we actually sell. So a wide gamut of cybersecurity. And I'm thrilled because I get to see it all. And it's definitely one of my passions.
That's great, Sheila. It's great to hear about the variety of opportunities that you have and that your branch here is growing. So there are opportunities in Northwest Florida as well as across the country and elsewhere. Stephen, Kevin, or Kat, would you like to chime in on opportunities that you're aware of at your organization or in general?
Sure, I'll go. So Northrop Grumman is a company that's global. We really value innovation and being that leader in technology. Working at the leading edge of technology requires us to protect our information. That's critical to our national security and on our way of life, as was mentioned earlier. So information technology, the health, space, communication, defense they're all highly technical capabilities that we support at Northrop. And as you imagine, again, we want to protect that. And there's a huge need and interest for, positions, in terms of penetration testing, certified ethical hackers, on the offensive side, vulnerability analysis, forensics. Maybe you're interested in software engineering or secure coding. Maybe your passion relies, in the research and the policy and training or compliance guidance, as kind of talked earlier. All those fields are vital, important to us. And, you know, as we've heard, make no mistake, there's a demand, and the demand will continue for cyber jobs. You know, this past year, we've experienced an unprecedented change with COVID, and we've shown a lot of flexibility. We're going to school, you know, from home. Many folks are working from home, unless, you know, you ever provide essential services. So we're definitely witnessing a shift in how we use technology. And there's definitely, you know, will be a need to secure that information. So we're closing the gap, but we need you. Keep up the work, stay on top of it.
Great, that's great. Kevin, would you like to chime in next? And before you do, I was going to point out, since you mentioned OT earlier, one of the panelist questions in the chat window is, I'm a graduating senior in mechanical engineering with a newfound interest in programming. Would it be worth to apply for cybersecurity jobs, or is it already too late? So I thought you might be interested in that one, but first start with your response to the question.
Absolutely. And I saw that. I was actually typing a response to that, but now I'll give it verbally. You know, Booz Allen's also a global company, and we have cybersecurity jobs in the commercial industry. We support a lot of Fortune 500 and Global 2000 companies in a few ways. Incident response. When a Fortune 10 company has a cyber attack or a malware attack, they're not going to tell you about it in the news. They're going to call Booz Allen, and we're going to go in and fix it. So, you know, that's pretty exciting for that team to be on the cutting edge of what's going on and solving that problem for critical customers. But we also go in and we help design their network before there's a problem, and you know, do what we call threat hunt. And so there's more you can do besides, if you know what RMF is, or, you know, just monitoring. You can actually go in there and start doing some dynamic things. And that's where AI ML comes in. That's where the MITRE attack framework comes in. All these very innovative approaches to allowing you to dynamically have cybersecurity. Well, that's one side of it. Another side of it is applying cybersecurity to things you might not think need cybersecurity, like printers. Additive manufacturing is becoming a really big thing. And there's an event the Navy holds called Hack the Machine. One of the tracks in Hack the Machine is all about attacking and securing these printers for people to do, you know, additive manufacturing. And so if you're a mechanical engineer and you understand the ways these things are supposed to function, and you also have some embedded software experience or cybersecurity experience, Avery, that's one area where your mechanical engineering skills can come to bear. In fact, two of my top engineers doing cybersecurity and robotics have PhDs in mechanical engineering, and they're cyber experts when it comes to these robotic platforms. Then, you know, you start talking about military systems. Military systems use all kinds of mechanical, electrical, all manner of technology. And so, you know, you need to have skills in a few different things to really apply benefit there. And so what I encourage you is cross-train, learn new things, find out, you know, how does my computer code, if I'm a coder, really work in an embedded system? What kind of mechanical things are attached to that I might need to understand? And you might end up taking some classes in mechanical engineering and vice versa. But I tell you, we've got jobs everywhere, from, you know, computer coding jobs, red teaming jobs, design and development jobs where you get to go out to places like perhaps Pfizer and go down on the manufacturing floor and keep that cyber secure. Jobs where you prevent other countries from hacking in and stealing data. Some people think that only happens on servers, but if you have an automated manufacturing line, all your design files are in these machines doing the cutting and the welding. And so, you know, there's a ton of jobs for a ton of backgrounds at Booz Allen. If you go to our website, boozallen.com, and you look up careers in cyber, you're going to find jobs around the world, and a lot in Florida.
Great, thank you. And as our panel said, there's jobs everywhere. Everything needs cybersecurity at this right now. Kat, is there anything you'd like to add?
I kind of did my pitch during my intro, so I kind of feel a little bit bad about that.
Well, how about we'll start with you then for the next question, all right? So this is great feedback. And again, for our attendees, feel free to put your questions in the chat window, and we're monitoring them, and we'll continue to try to answer them. So let's start with Kat. What advice do you have for someone interested in getting started in a cybersecurity career?
Okay. So here's the thing about cybersecurity. It is a really broad field. The way I equate it to is kind of like, I want to be a doctor. Well, what kind of doctor do you want to be, right? Like there's a ton of specialties. The same thing goes with computers. Like, well, what do you want to specialize in? Do you want to do mobile? Do you want to do networks? Do you want to do operations? Do you want to do forensics? Like there's a ton of things out there. So like, and it can be overwhelming, right? But we forget with the perspective of, oh, cyber, like, wait a minute, it's just like being a doctor. Like we have to take it one bite at a time, right? Pick one area, focus at a time. So I would say probably one of my biggest things for when you get started is as you're going through these courses, as you're going through these webinars or these classes or this training or listening to speakers, figure out what gives you energy. Like what kind of like, you know, when you're kind of like, oh, I need to go Google that now. Like that feeling right there, follow that. And that'll naturally like kind of unveil like what brings you energy in this field. And then that'll give you the right rabbit holes to kind of track down because it's so broad that you'll never run out of information to learn. So just follow that, like find what indicators of interest there are for you and then follow those rabbit holes down.
Great advice. Follow your passion. That's what I would always say. And there's an opportunity or pathway for cyber for you. Stephen, what do you think?
Well, exactly. You know, I think it's important for you to define your path. I mean, you know what interests you, you know where your passion is, and go with it. As Kat said, you know, there's no direct path to the cyber career. It's changing, it's dynamic, and there are multiple paths there. You know, many different disciplines, you know, that you can go. So keep an open mind, be flexible, and look for the opportunities that's a good fit for you, your situation, your experience, and what you want to do. That's what's important. You know, earlier we talked about, and you heard on different experiences. Go and look and find a mentor. Become a mentor. Get out there and network. You'll find opportunities when you start talking to others that you never expected to find. Volunteer. Get involved in cyber competitions and challenges like Cyber Patriot. Again, the more you get out and research and expose yourself to, the more you're going to find out. Look for opportunities that's going to build your foundation, you know, and stretch your abilities as you go along. But one thing that I'd like to also, you know, let you know too, from a cyber perspective, is it's not just about being technically competent. It's also about your character. So the cyber profession requires trust. You know, it's important now that you start making good choices and out there and show that you can be trusted with this sensitive information and certain systems you'll be, you know, working on. Working in cyber is so much more than just being that expert. If you choose a cyber career, you're going to have to show that you can be trusted. So the choices you make today can determine, you know, your employment in the future. You've got to understand the differences out there between state and federal law. They're different. Federal contracts and jobs are guided by federal laws. So clearances are granted and adjudicated based on federal, and again, not state. So I just emphasize that again, as you're going out there, don't be scared by it. Have a great time, enjoy things, but you need to understand that there are different requirements out there, and you're being entrusted with, think of your parents, your grandparents, bank accounts, their medical records, our sensitive, you know, security for our nation. You are being entrusted with that. So very important.
Great advice. Thank you. Sheila, what advice do you have for those interested in getting started in a cyber career?
Well, they pretty much said everything that I was going to say, but what really resonated with me is follow your passion. There are so many different specializations within cybersecurity that you need to make sure that you are trying and being exposed to as many different of those areas so that you can actually decide what you want, because you will very clearly and very early know what you don't want. And then you open up that next door and there's so many other things that you can explore specifically for cybersecurity. The second thing that I also agree with the other panelists is you need mentors. You need not necessarily just one. They're just explore your networking try to learn from everyone. I'm a big advocate of mentors, and I actually have 7 within our organization, and my only agreement with them is that they need to pay it forward. So as much as you, or what I learned from my mentees and they learn from me, is we need to grow and make that a huge team. I think that a lot of the technical folks really have a hard time potentially as introverts, is that focus on teamwork. As you learn these different specializations, as you learn the experts that you're working with, it has to be a team, and you'll definitely grow from there. And then the other thing that I recommend is, as you take that first job and then you look for your second, that when you take that second, think of what taking that second one will, how you will get that third. So it's a really different workforce now. It's always looking how you can change and adapt, and you really need to make sure that you're agile and being able to do that. The other thing is, you can never be compliant. Cybersecurity changes day by day, week by week, year by year, and it's an always learning environment. So exploring and making sure that you keep learning is the best advice.
That is fabulous advice. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, everyone. So I want to go back to Kevin and ask, you mentioned that Booz Allen has a variety of jobs across the globe, not just right here. What do hiring officials look for in a successful applicant? And in addition to doing well academically, what other activities or experiences are important?
I tell you, the number one thing I look for in an applicant is their ability to work with others. You know, there's collective ingenuity that you gain when you can have partnerships with other people that bring something to the table, and recognizing that everyone brings something. It's not just what you bring. You know, that ability to work in a team, that's number one. Even though we do cybersecurity, we work with people. Our clients are people, the people we work with from other companies. And at Booz Allen, you have to work with many different people on a project. The second thing I look for is I look for drive. I look for initiative. I look for self-starters. Many people probably never heard of the MITRE ATT&CK framework, but the successful applicant that shows up from this list at a Booz Allen job interview after coming here tonight, I'm going to ask you questions about it, because the successful person is looking it up right now, or they're going to look it up as soon as this is over, and they're going to study it and they're going to ask questions, because that's a bit of knowledge passed right in front of their face. And if they're that person that's got drive, they're going to go learn that knowledge now. The third thing is something that Stephen mentioned. You've got to be able to be trusted. Many of our people have to have top secret security clearances. They might have to have a polygraph, and they have to have the ability to pass through that very close look by the government at 5, maybe the 10 years of their life. And they're going to look at a lot of factors that as a young adult and a college student may not be that important to you yet. But you need to think ahead about, what does it take to get a security clearance? What does it take to work in a position of public trust? And in an interview, that's one of the first things we look at, one of the top things.
That's great advice, and I love that you brought up the teamwork and the initiative. So note that these are skills that run across the variety of the field, regardless of what you're looking for. It's important to kind of have that opportunity. So students, when we ask you to work on teams and course projects, now you know why, right? We're trying to get you ready for the real world. Would anybody else like to chime in on that question? All right, let's keep going and see if we have, I'm going to do one more question. And while we do that, let's get questions from the audience in the chat window, and we'll go to the chat window next and then come back to my questions. I want to make sure we get audience questions in first. So Sheila, what skills and experience do you recommend for someone to succeed or advance in a cybersecurity career? We've talked about the entry level and then beyond the initial entry level or 2 years of experience. What experience and skills are really important in succeeding and advancing?
So I think I use the example of one of my mentees that I have, having the ability to be inquisitive. So as you might not know necessarily one specific area of cybersecurity, is to be inquisitive. Do your homework. Very similar to the example of the MITRE framework. Make sure that you're doing your homework. The key things, like I had said before, everything changes so quickly. Make sure you're doing that reading so that you're on top of that. I think that, and I had said it before, is that you honestly, when you go into cybersecurity, and I've been in it for over 30 years, is that you can never stop learning. It was very, very different back in the day, and it just accelerates. The whole side of artificial intelligence and how that coding and how you can do that defense is something that now is the biggest thing to be able to learn. What that will be in 5 years, I don't think anybody can predict, but it's understanding that you need the technical, but you also need the business side, so that you can then decide which areas that really you want to focus. And then the other side of this is doing your homework, practicing that interview, doing the homework of what that business is, making sure that it's the right culture for you to be able to work in. It makes a big difference. We have a culture that is always learning. That's what you need to do, is do that research on the LinkedIn, who works at that company, really see what those people are and see if that's an important place that you think you could make a difference in.
That's great. Kat, what do you think are important skills and experience to succeed or and advance? Now that you're out there doing exactly that, right?
Yeah, I can tell you I can tell you what I did. I can tell you what worked for me. And that is very specifically, like, I wanted to do offensive engineering. Like, when I first got out of the university, I honestly didn't really know what I wanted to do. And when I went to my boss, and who then became my mentor later, I was like, but I want to do everything. And she's like, well, you can do everything, just not at the same time. And so I was like, oh, well, okay, well, that's kind of, like, what am I going to do then? And so what we did was we kind of like picked out my favorite thing and then went after that one first. And here's the thing about all these roles. I've seen a lot of questions like, well, if this is what I want to do, like, do I have to go through all this, crucible essentially to get there, right? If I have a skill set, the job title doesn't matter, because the skill set still has to be applied. So for me, with offensive engineering, I really just, as Sheila said, like, I sought out those resources. I researched it, and then I studied it. And once I picked out like kind of what my excitement, like what I got energy around, that's when I picked that. And then I found the resources for it. And I will tell you guys right now, it might seem daunting. It might not seem like there's anything out there for us. There is. GitHub is full of code. Twitter, full of people that will answer your questions. If you're interested in cyber threat intelligence, Katie Nichols has literally an article on Medium going through, here's like 10 articles that you really need to know to have a well-informed conversation. If you wanted to get into threat hunting, David Bianco on Twitter has an entire list of resources that literally goes over, this is what threat hunting is. Here's different approaches. Here's different ways to look at data. Here's the data that you actually need. And then, oh, by the way, there's a GitHub repo that actually has sample bad data sets with these threat hunting techniques to teach you what this is, right? So for me, find the skill that you're excited about, go find the resources, and then just let yourself be new, learn, like revel in the fact that you don't know, and then Google your heart away. That's what I've done. And that kind of actually led me to do a talk at a conference where I just did what I thought was fun. And then that actually led to my job at MITRE. So they actually used my presentation that I did in my spare time as my introduction into my job interview. So we would review that presentation in my job interview. So curiosity truly is one of the biggest things with this. So just follow that down that rabbit hole.
Thank you, Kat. I just love hearing all the advice we're getting from our panelists. And I think you all said it, find that thing that excites you, find that passion, that spark. And if you're out there, our attendees thinking, I don't know, that's okay too. You got to make those opportunities to learn, right? Try things, try different things, participate in conferences and competitions, read the news. And eventually you'll read things or learn things and say, this isn't really for me. And then one day you'll come across something. That's what happened to me too. And you'll say, that's it. This is what I want to do. And that's when you're likely to be most successful and continue proceeding and advancing in the field. So Brittany, Julie, do we have any audience questions that before we go to the next question? I want to make sure we're getting all these questions going on in the chat window as well. Is there anything you'd like for the panelists to chime in that you're seeing, Brittany or Julie? And if you're speaking, you're on mute. Okay, go for it.
I'm through them. Most of them I think have been answered from our team through the chat.
Okay, are there any questions in the chat window that the panelists would like to answer? If you see anything in there,
I'm sorry, I found one.
Okay.
How much weight would you attribute to having a minor in a potentially related field like business, finance, or computer science?
Who'd like to take that one?
Hey, this is Kevin. You know, the jobs in cybersecurity are so diverse. Each of those can be valuable to an employer. You know, for example, if you really understand cybersecurity, but you really understand business, you're going to have the insights to know how to determine what a client's challenge is and how to go back to your engineers or your team to solve that challenge. And so I think there's a lot of value in having minors and other areas of focus that will work for you somewhere in cybersecurity.
Great, thank you. How about we do another question while we're looking through the chat window. Stephen, how about you tell us what are some rookie mistakes that you made in the beginning of your career that you see happening often?
Well, I will tell you that you're never going to stop learning. We're talking about learning. I thought, hey, I'm graduating UWF. I'm walking away. I'm a new commissioned second lieutenant in the Army. I'm taking off and I've got it. Hey, guess what? You're going to keep learning, but you can make it fun. I'm still learning now. This field cyber is new and exciting, and my youngest son is into it, computer science, and he's adding physics, and he's talking things like quantum. And I'm having to go back to him, and he's helping me out in my job. So I'm going back to continue to learn. So don't think you're not going to do that. And the other thing is, we talked about is don't be afraid to step out. Don't be afraid to get into the uncharted areas because you might sound stupid or you might look dumb in doing something. Sometimes when we take on something new, we're reluctant to step out. We're going to fail. You're going to fail, but you can learn from those failures, and those setbacks that you experience, well, they may turn into, most likely turn into a setup that you never would have thought of if you didn't take that initial step out to see, if you like something. I often can tell folks that I don't like this, I don't like that, but I don't know what I want to do. So I'm going to go explore it and find out. So keep looking at that. Doors open and close. Maximize that growth time and just immerse yourself in those hard problems and continue to network, because you never know. So as you're going through, whether it's middle school, high school, and your college years, just remember that. And folks, and call them up. People want to help you, and they'll help you if they can or give you direction. So I often thought that I was on my own in some cases, and that was a big mistake. It's a team effort, much like we've talked about. This is a team effort, team sport, and so utilize that.
Great advice. Network and keep learning. Kat, what do you think? Any rookie mistakes that you made that you see happening often?
So many. So the one that I was actually thinking about, I don't know about some of you, but I struggle with imposter syndrome. And honestly, for everyone that I know in cybersecurity does too. So when I was first starting at Target, which was the first company that I worked for going out of UWF, which by the way, I will always be grateful to UWF and Iman, because she was the one that hooked me up with the scholarship to the WISIS conference that got me the job at Target. So definitely go to conferences, especially if there's scholarships for them, and then go to those job fairs, because it's a great opportunity to hit a whole bunch of different companies at one time. But when I got to Target, we were doing Agile, right? Now in Agile, you have to get up, you stand up in a meeting, you're like, okay, here's what I did yesterday, here's what I'm doing today, here are blockers that I have going on with me. And the idea is just to always be really transparent about what's going on in your work and quickly identify any issues or opportunities to where other people can help. So I was talking one day and I was like, yeah, so I know I said yesterday I'd do this and I didn't get to that. And I thought this thing was really simple, and it turned out it took up my entire day and I'm still struggling with it. So I'm still struggling with this one line of code, like that I really don't feel like I should be struggling with. Like, so that's my stand-up for the day. And, and after the meeting, like everyone chuckled, right? Because that's what you do when you put yourself down publicly, they chuckle. And after the meeting, one of my friends went up to me, one of the guys in the room, and he was like, Kat, we all think you're great, but during this meeting, this is our only time we get to interact with you. And if all you do is put yourself down, that's all I know. So just know that we're thinking you're doing a great job. So just state what you're doing as matter of factly. Don't tack on all this other stuff, because it doesn't really matter. And you're doing great. And I was just like, how many of my own problems have I created myself with like just throwing crap out there that did not belong in the conversation? So for me, that was probably one of the biggest rookie mistakes. And that's when I started to pay attention in meetings, that people really only know what you tell them. And so like the clean professionalism in a meeting a lot of times has to do with just staying on task and staying on topic, and letting all of the crazy that's going on in here, like acknowledging that it's crazy, it's going on, but it doesn't mean that you have to sit there and share it with the rest of the room to make sure everyone's okay. So that was probably my biggest rookie mistake that I found, like just tweaking a little was like, it's made a huge difference in all of my conversations.
Great, thank you for that. So I want to ask one more question that's some of you touched on along the way, the emerging technologies and the future and the dynamic nature of the field. What do you see as future opportunities for cybersecurity careers? Kevin, let's start with you.
I think we're going to see in the medical device area, cybersecurity really boom. We're now able to interface with the human body like never before. You could say one side of that is just measuring, but sooner or later, you're going to have more and more stimulus activities. A pacemaker is one example. You want that to be very secure. These things are going to be connected in, the Internet of Things. And so I think what's happening with IoT is going to drive it into medical devices. It's going to drive it into even more places than that. Wearables are going to, explode as we start getting things in our fabric, as we start needing more augmentation. We're seeing things in the Army where they're wanting to give soldiers AR and VR type environments that they'll take into very confusing combat situations. Those things have to be very cyber secure. So, I think the technology is going to become more and more complex. It's going to move away from, IT focused things to, things we all carry around and that interconnect with the world around us in ways we're not even aware of. So I think that's a big emerging trend. I also think another one is what's happening in space cyber has to date been so far off from people's minds and their lives. But our cars are going to connect to a satellite in space. Our homes are going to connect more and more. Our phone's going to connect before you know it. We're doing so many things in a low Earth orbit, and those signals can reach the ground now. More effective than satellites we put up for GPS, which are much further away, and that signal becomes very small by the time it gets down here, and it's not a two-way communication pipe. Well, now we're going to be connected to satellites like never before. There's something different when you connect with a satellite than when you connect through your home's Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is in the United States. The wired connection goes to your cable company. We know where everything goes. Once you start communicating through the air to space, all manner of things become possible to infiltrate your network or to get access to your data that's traveling through that space system. The satellite's over us right now. It's over China in 2 hours. And so I think that increased interconnectivity locally and that increased interconnectivity around the world is really going to drive a lot of change in cyber.
Great. Thank you. Stephen, Sheila, or Kat, would you like to add anything on future opportunities? And we're going to go to audience questions next. So be ready, audience, and Julie and Brittany for your help with summarizing questions. So Stephen, Sheila, Kat, anything on future cyber career opportunities?
Yeah, I just, echo again the space. It is very important. We're just now, starting to touch on that. And there's just, we're seeing again, just an unprecedented change that's taken place, before our very eyes. So securing, the systems, the services, that dependency is going to increase that demand and security in everything that we do. So it's important that, we recognize that now and think global. You have to think global and not just in your local community.
Great. So new career opportunities are waiting, some that we may not even know of today. All right, so let's go to Brittany or Julie if you have questions in the chat that you'd like to repeat for our panelists, and open to anyone on the panel unless there are specific questions in there. But the chat window is going so quickly, I haven't been following it all.
Sure.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Julie.
I was going to say, Noah asked, does getting an MS in cybersecurity after a bachelor's help a lot with getting a good job?
What do y'all think?
So I think, honestly, if you look at any jobs now, just having a BA or the additional specialization in master's is definitely going to get you through that door faster. Things are changing so quickly that having that diversity of cybersecurity, business, or engineering and the cybersecurity, you definitely have to have those different experiences to come up and rise on to the top for an interview, for sure.
Great, thanks, Sheila. Anyone else?
I have another question where it's, are there any certifications in particular that would make a possible hire more appealing?
Industry and other professional certifications. What do you all recommend?
So I think from the side of, if you're actually pulling in somebody that does have a lot of experience, the acronyms of certifications are never ending, and it's depending on that specialization. So if it's vulnerability testing, if it's audit, if it's the CISSP, so it is a lot of certifications that would allow you, if it was a specific specialization, that would get you that extra experience for sure. It depends on the company itself and what certifications they have and the requirements that the individuals have to have.
Man, this is Guy. Can I weigh in on this just a second?
Sure.
So one of the things I do at the center is help people with industry certifications. Workforce development is one of my specialties. And I'll tell you, this is how it works. So if you're entry level, you're just coming out of a degree program, there are certifications out there that can give employers more confidence that what you did in your degree program actually has real world applicability. And we've seen this with our own students getting things like Security Plus, for example. And if you go work places like the DoD, certain certifications are required for certain jobs. So that's one aspect of it. However, if you're coming into this business and you don't have previous experience, the tests are becoming more and more skills based. We can use the cloud like Azure and AWS to host virtual machines. Instead of just taking a multiple choice test where you're, guessing whatever the answer is, what I call multiple guess, right? Where we're just testing your knowledge. Now we're actually testing your skill. Can you actually do something? Given a scenario, very much like Kat talked about earlier, we give you a scenario, we give you a virtual machine. Can you do something with it? So the certifications can help you, but when you're looking at where you want to be in cyber, it's a good thing to sit down with somebody and talk to them about what your plan is and see where certifications fit and also where education fits, because it's usually a balance.
Thanks.
Sorry, I think a lot of the actual certifications are actually looking for work experience along the way before you can get that certification. So very similar to the CISA, you have to have that 2 years experience. A lot of your college degree courses can apply, but they're still looking for that experience also.
Great, thank you. And we appreciate that. I know we're getting close to time here, so maybe time for one more question from the chat window. Julie or Brittany?
To kind of tag on to the certifications, what is more effective, cybersecurity certifications or getting a degree for it, which gives more of a chance to get a job?
I'll tell you, from the Booz Allen perspective, completing a degree is more critical. We'll actually help you get your certifications once we onboard you in many cases. If you come in with a degree and certifications, that's just more applied experience that you have. And that, like was said earlier, that's evidence that you can apply those skills. But I tell you, it takes time and commitment to complete a degree, and completing a degree shows us that you can apply time and commitment. And that's very important.
Great, thank you. Well, in the before we run out of time, because we want to stay true to time here, I want to take a minute to thank our wonderful panelists, Sheila, Stephen, Kevin, Kat. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to share with us and be with us today. And we hope to host you in person. Thank you to the UWF team, everybody, for making this happen. We have 2 quick poll questions for the audience, and I'll turn it over to Brittany to do that.
Hello, everyone. So our first poll will be, are you interested in pursuing a cybersecurity career? And we'll give that about 30 seconds if you could just answer a yes or a no for us.
So get your responses in quickly, attendees. We'd love to hear from you. And again, if we didn't get to your question today while we were doing that, feel free to email us at cybersecurity@uwf.edu, whether you want to be added to the mailing list or have a question about a degree or cybersecurity or certs. We're here to help, as we mentioned earlier. So get your responses in.
Great, thanks everyone. Almost everyone is very interested in a cyber career. And then we have one more question for you guys. Did you find this Night of Cyber webinar to be beneficial? Yes or no? About 30 seconds for that as well. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you, Brittany. Thank you again to our panelists. Thrilled to have you here. Thank you to the UWF team for making this happen. And thank you to everybody who joined us virtually this evening. And we look forward to, again, seeing you in the future, virtually or in person, hopefully in the future, at UWF and in the cybersecurity field. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great evening.